Afflicted with a rare genetic mutation known as the deviant syndrome, Thanos was born with massive proportions and thick purple skin. Gamora laughed. She mocked him, believing he loved absolutely nothing in this universe. But as she turned to look at his face, the Mad Titan was weeping. He truly, deeply loved Gamora. And then he snapped his fingers. In absolute silence, half of all living creatures in the universe, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, simply turned to ash and faded away. Let me ask you a question. What if the most dangerous, ruthless villain in cinematic history genuinely believed with every fiber of his being that he was the ultimate hero? Imagine a being who wiped out trillions of lives, children, mothers, entire civilizations with a single snap of his fingers. But what if he didn't do it out of hatred? What if he did it because he believed it was the only way to save the universe from destroying itself? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving deep into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but more importantly, we're stepping inside the deeply complex mind of its greatest villain, Thanos. Where did the Mad Titan come from? Why did he do what he did? And what is the terrifying real-world science and philosophy hiding behind his actions? Before we uncover the untold truth of Thanos, if you enjoy deep psychological and high-quality film essays like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now, and drop a like to help the algorithm push this video to more movie lovers. Grab your coffee, sit back, and let's explore the tragedy of the Mad Titan. Our story begins far beyond our solar system, on the moon of Saturn known as Titan. According to comic lore, the inhabitants of Titan were Eternals, perfect, beautiful, and practically immortal. But when Thanos was born, everything changed. His parents, Lars and Suisan, brought a child into the world who was fundamentally different. Afflicted with a rare genetic mutation known as the deviant syndrome, Thanos was born with massive proportions and thick purple skin. When his mother first looked into his eyes, she didn't see an innocent baby. She saw a destroyer of worlds. She was so deeply terrified of what he would become that she grabbed a scalpel and tried to kill him right there in the delivery room. His father saved him, but the psychological damage was done. Growing up, Thanos was a brilliant, philosophical, and deeply introverted child, but he was isolated and outcast. As years passed, a terrifying crisis threatened Titan. The population exploded beyond control. Natural resources were rapidly depleting. The planet was suffocating under the weight of its own people. In this time of sheer desperation, young Thanos stood before the leaders of Titan and proposed a chilling solution. He said, "If our planet is to survive, we must accept reality. We have finite resources and too many people. Therefore, we must randomly eliminate exactly half of the population, fairly, dispassionately, rich and poor alike." The leaders were horrified. They called him a madman. They exiled him from his own home. But time proved the Mad Titan right. Titan fell into a devastating civil war over resources. Starvation swept the globe, and the entire civilization collapsed into dust. Thanos was the sole survivor, and in the ruins of his dead world, he made a vow. "I was right. I could have saved them. I will never let this happen to the rest of the universe." Our story begins far beyond our solar system, on the moon of Saturn known as Titan. According to comic lore, the inhabitants of Titan were Eternals, perfect, beautiful, and practically immortal. Dacker realized he found something impressive. The effusion score of their electron discharge far exceeded what anyone had ever seen. Clean your batteries. We could find something here that blasts away the common storyline. This single trauma birthed one of the most dangerous psychological conditions imaginable, a massive savior complex. Thanos assembled an army and began traveling from planet to planet, manually doing what he couldn't do on Titan. He would gather a planet's population, divide them in two, and slaughter exactly half. But notice something crucial here. Thanos doesn't kill out of hatred. He doesn't target specific races, or the poor, or his enemies. His slaughter is entirely terrifyingly random. Take the planet of Zen-Hulberi, the home of Gamora. When Thanos invaded her poverty-stricken, overpopulated world, he found a fierce little girl fighting back. While his army executed half of her people, he gently taught her the concept of balance. He took her in, adopted her, and loved her. Years later, he tells Gamora, "Your planet was on the brink of collapse. I was the one who stopped that. You have known nothing but full bellies and clear skies ever since." In his deeply twisted mind, he isn't a murderer. He's a merciful savior doing the dirty work no one else has the courage to do. But wiping out half of the universe, planet by planet, would take thousands of lifetimes. He needed an absolute omnipotent power to achieve his goal in a single instant. He needed the Infinity Stones. Before creation itself, there were 6 singularities. Then the universe exploded into existence, and the remnants of these systems were forged into concentrated ingots. Let's break them down quickly. First, the Space Stone, the blue gem that grants the user the ability to teleport anywhere in the universe. Second, the Mind Stone, the yellow crystal capable of manipulating consciousness, altering thoughts, and granting unimaginable intelligence. Third, the Reality Stone, the red, fluid-like aether that literally bends the laws of physics, turning illusions into reality. Fourth, the Power Stone, the purple orb that holds the destructive force capable of obliterating entire planets. Fifth, the Time Stone, guarded by Doctor Strange. This green emerald allows the user to see into the future or rewind the past. And finally, the most mysterious and demanding of them all, the Soul Stone. Wait, before we talk about the devastating price Thanos had to pay for the Soul Stone, I have a quick question for you. If you could possess just one of these 6 Infinity Stones in real life, which one would you choose and why? Would you want the power of time, the freedom of space, or the ability to bend reality? Pause the video right now and let me know down in the comments. I'll be reading and replying to as many as I can. And hey, if you're still watching, smash that like button. Alright, back to the dark sacrifice. Many fans mistake Thanos for an unemotional robot, but that couldn't be further from the truth. When Thanos and Gamora arrived on the barren planet of Vormir to retrieve the Soul Stone, the ghostly keeper, the Red Skull, revealed the horrifying price. In order to take the stone, you must lose that which you love, a soul for a soul. Gamora laughed. She mocked him, believing he loved absolutely nothing in this universe. But as she turned to look at his face, the Mad Titan was weeping. He truly, deeply loved Gamora. But in his broken utilitarian mind, the survival of the universe outweighed the life of his favorite daughter. With tears in his eyes, he threw the only thing he loved off the cliff. Finally, with all 6 stones embedded in the Infinity Gauntlet forged by the dwarves of Nittevale, Thanos stood in Wakanda. The Avengers threw everything they had at him. Thor drove his magical axe, Stormbreaker, deep into the Titan's chest. But it wasn't enough. Looking Thor in the eyes, Thanos whispered, "You should have gone for the head." And then he snapped his fingers. In absolute silence, half of all living creatures in the universe, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, simply turned to ash and faded away. He didn't claim a throne. He didn't demand worship. Instead, he limped through a portal to a quiet, peaceful farm, sat down and watched the sunrise on a grateful universe. His mission was complete. But the story doesn't end there. 5 years of grief passed. The Avengers, desperate to reverse the tragedy, used the quantum realm to travel back in time and pull the stones from the past. However, the Thanos of 2014 discovered their plan, and watching their memories, he realized a fundamental flaw in his own philosophy. He realized that as long as there are those who remember what was, there will always be those who cannot accept what can be. The survivors didn't move on, they held on to their pain and fought back, so his goal evolved into pure madness. He declared he would use the stones to shred the entire universe down to its last atom, and from the ashes create a new one, a universe that knows only gratitude, not loss. But human resilience prevailed. In the ultimate act of heroism, Tony Stark, Iron Man, managed to steal the stones from the gauntlet. With a defiant "I am Iron Man," Stark snapped his fingers himself. He sacrificed his life to turn Thanos and his entire army into the very dust they had created. So what was the real-world science behind Thanos' terrifying ideology? In the 18th century, an economist named Malthus introduced what is known as the Malthusian Theory. He argued that while populations grow exponentially, food production only grows linearly. Therefore, humanity is doomed to eventually run out of resources, leading to inevitable famine, disease, and war. Thanos is the literal embodiment of the Malthusian fear taken to the absolute extreme. The legendary author Paulo Coelho wrote a profound line in his masterpiece, The Alchemist. He wrote, "Sometimes the most terrible and destructive things are done by people who genuinely believe they are doing the right thing." Thanos wasn't a monster who wanted to see the world burn. He was a deeply traumatized soul who brought upon universal devastation, blindly convinced he was the savior. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the mind of Thanos. Now I pass the question to you. Was there any truth to Thanos' Malthusian philosophy about resources and population, or was he purely a delusional madman? Let your voice be heard in the comments below. If you enjoyed this documentary-style essay and learned something new, please hit that like button. It genuinely helps the channel. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss out on our cinematic deep dives. Share this with a friend who loves Marvel or philosophy. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.